Today I'm going to give a quick tutorial and refresher on how to do a one-sample t-test in SPSS. And so I'm just going to redo the examples that we did in lab. And the first one is that we are going to assess a sample of 214 students in their exam anxiety and then in performance. So you notice that we're just going to use these two variables here, but there are a bunch of others there. Don't worry about them. First thing we want to do is go to Analyze, Compare Means, and we are doing a one-sample t-test. And the first test we want to know is, are these students more anxious than the population mean, or sigma, of 45? So we're going to be using exam anxiety. And the key part of a one-sample t-test in SPSS is to change this test value. There we put in our population mean that we're given and that we're comparing the mean of our sample to. If you don't change it, SPSS will compare your sample mean to 0. So we need to change it to our population mean, which is 45. We don't need to do anything with options, so we're just going to click OK. And here's our output. You can see that the first box just gives us our statistics. Our N was 103, so we had 103 participants. The mean was 74.34, standard deviation of 17.18, and standard error of 1.69. And then we'll actually look down to the second box, which is our test statistic. Excuse me. And for exam anxiety, we see that the T is a positive 17.33, which we can infer that that's pretty significant, right? Which we know because this 74.34 is much greater than the population mean of 45. So we kind of expected a large T. Our degrees of freedom are n-1, so 103 minus 1 gave us 102. And here we have our significance box. Don't worry about the two-tailed. What this is telling us is our actual calculated p-value. So if you'll recall, when we reject the null hypothesis, we say that our p is less than our alpha, so usually less than 0.05. SPSS actually calculates the p-value for you. And here we have a 0, which is much less than 0.05. And so we can say that we can reject the null hypothesis. And yes, there is a significant difference between our sample and the population. So now we want to do the same thing for exam performance. So we go back to our data, go to Analyze, Compare Means, and one sample t-test. I'm going to move exam anxiety back over, and now we're looking at performance. And we need to change this test value to the population mean, or sigma, of exam performance, which was 88. And click OK. Once again, we're given the N, their mean exam performance of 56.57, their standard deviation, and the standard error. And down here we see a negative 12.295 T, which means that we have a large T in the negative direction, which we knew because our mean is less than the population mean of 88. Degrees of freedom are again 102, and our significance value, our p-value, is 0, which we can infer that that is highly significant and that we can reject the null and say that our sample had less performance on the exam than the population. And that is how we conduct a one-sample t-test in SPSS.